Are you ready? We're going to celebrate. Happy birthday, Australian Book Travels. Hang on. Yay! Hello everyone, welcome to Australian Book Travels and our very first birthday. I've just broken open a bottle of champagne, so whatever drink you're having, whether it's a tea, coffee or a spirit or a champagne, cheers everyone. It's our birthday, I can't believe it. Let's have a little tipple. It is early in the morning, but I'm sure it will go down well later on. And we have some cakes, and I'll discuss those later, but we do have a candle. So I'm going to blow it out and make a wish. I hope you can all see it. Here it is. And I'm going to make a wish. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's a big wish. Okay, I'm going to take this off before it strangles me. We do have a lot on the channel. We're hoping and we invite you to stay right until the very end because it's a birthday celebration and it's a special video. We have given you a little bit of everything. Australia, books, Australian books and Australian travel. So this whole video, it will be longer than normal, but we're hoping that if the whole video isn't something that you would like to watch, there may be bits along the way. We're hoping you really do like the whole video, but we're also hoping that there's a little bit of something for everyone in it. Okay, first things first, I must tell you that it's been a really busy year. The intention is actually a little bit later on. I will be telling you all who I am and why I began the channel and how I see the channel evolving and how we want to involve you in that evolution. But look, I have been stressing right from the very beginning. I'm so passionate about promoting Australia, the real Australia, not just the beaches and bikinis and thongs and all of that, but we do have all of that. We have beautiful sunshine and beautiful weather and we have different climates all around Australia. But I wanted to show you the real Australia. We have two histories, two cultures. Again, we will discuss all of this later, but I'm so passionate about doing it all and promoting it all and promoting our authors and our publishers and our bookbinders and small businesses and historic pet-friendly accommodation. So it has been an absolutely brilliant year, but it's been stressful. And so getting ready for this celebration, this video, I became extremely stressed. And so Mark, my partner, said to me, look, why don't you do something that is stress-free in terms of, it's nothing to do with the channel, there's no books involved, just do something for you. So I did, and I took you along with me. I had a facial. It was very relaxing, but more on that later. Let's go and have a look at what we did. Bloom Natural Health was established by creator and owner Kiara in 2019 here in the Bendigo region. Beginning as a beautician, qualifying in 2007, Kiara soon realised her passion really lay in the holistic health and well-being of her clients and their skin, and so began her journey training as a naturopath. Qualifying in 2021, Kiara consults with clients daily and is available for online naturopathic consultation from anywhere in Australia. Using only natural, science and evidence-based skincare, Kiara also offers the most effective and beneficial facials in an immaculate and relaxing environment, as you can see here. You truly float out of Bloom Natural Health after seeing Kiara. I have been Kiara's client for approximately 5 years now, and I would not see anyone else for either naturopathic advice or facials and skincare.
She is a truly warm, considerate and caring person. Just what you need when you feel unwell or require a pick-me-up. Details on how to contact Bloom Natural Health are in the description box below.
So that is just one business that we really want to promote. It's Bloom Natural Health, owned by Kiara, it's Australian owned, Australian operated, and a woman to boot in business, which I think is wonderful. And I will explain a little later, but I have known Kiara now for at least 5 years, and I have actually used her services. That's how I came to know her. And she has become a friend because she is incredibly caring. She's ethical in her business, extremely passionate about being ethical in her natural skincare and her naturopathics. In the products that she uses, she wants them to be science-based and proven. So she's just a really kind, compassionate person. And when you are unwell or you're wanting to relax, and in that sort of situation you can be vulnerable, or you can feel vulnerable. But honestly, Kiara, you couldn't get a better person in Kiara. She's a wonderful naturopath and she is a wonderful beautician. So going on from there, we surrounded ourselves in everything Australian, which again I will explain as we go along. But the next thing I want to show you is, for those of you not in Australia, we have the quintessential cakes of what is quintessentially Australian. We have lamingtons, we have iced apple cake and vanilla slice, all for the birthday. Instead of one cake, I thought it would be lovely to have everything that is Australian. The only thing that's missing is the pavlova, but in actual fact, the origins of that is in New Zealand, I am of the understanding. So when I went to buy these at our local bakery, I took you along with me. So let's go.
Darcy's Bakery, seen here in the footage, is located in Eaglehawk and is a family-owned business with award-winning breads, pies, cakes and slices. The staff are always helpful and friendly, greeting you with a smile and the latest bakery news. We do not buy our bread anywhere else, and the apple cakes are second to none. So if you find yourself in Eaglehawk, make sure you make a beeline to Darcy's.
Okay, I hope you liked that little travel into Eaglehawk to have a look at the wonderful bakery. We genuinely don't buy from anywhere else. We really do love the products from Darcy's. And again, an Australian business, local, we love it. Their food, their bread is wonderful, and I believe they have the best apple cakes in the world. Okay. I guess we should begin now that we've got a few of the bit of the introduction out of the way. For those of you who have just joined the channel or who have been here for a while but you don't know who I am, my name is Cheryl and I live with my partner and many animals, particularly our 2 dogs and cat, here in central Victoria. We are on a small holding which we have over time farmed. We had a natural and organic food produce. So we were growing vegetables and herbs, and we had free-range chickens. We had quite a few free-range chickens. And we were selling that locally into a couple of our local pubs. But that wasn't sustainable out here. We get extreme temperatures, but we get extremely hot in the summer. In the 40s is not unusual, and there have been many Christmases that we have spent in 40 plus degrees. So it just wasn't sustainable. We had to keep buying in water, and we do believe in sustainability, and we're conservationists in our own way. We are not, we don't go rallying or doing anything. We just do our bit in our corner of the world. And we believe in that. It's important. So, and to be quite honest, what we have done on this property proves that. But I shall explain. So, yeah, we have a small holding here. We did have, we were selling produce, but as I say, that wasn't sustainable. So we've tried a few other things to farm it. We do have, I was a dressage rider, so I did have a few horses, and we had rescue horses. But slowly they have passed away. A number of them most of them have been the horses have been in their 30s when they passed away. And so we now only have two who are retired. And again, one of them is, he turns 30 this year. And our other mare, I think she's about 18. She was given to us by a friend. So we only have the two horses, and we do have a rescue pig. We did have two, but our Gilbert Christopher passed away earlier this year in February, and he was 18. So he was a massive pig. He was absolutely huge. But so now we only have our little punk, who is, I think she's 9 now. So she just wanders around with the geese, and yeah, we have the dogs, and we have just a handful of chickens, and yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, we have the geese, the chickens, the pigs, or the pig, the horses, the dogs, the cat. That's it. And then there's the two of us, the other two animals in the household. Yeah, so we have tried to farm the property, and we want to do it sustainably. We actually came here. We came here from Tasmania. We are not Tasmanians. We were actually, we came from Melbourne, from South Gippsland way. I originated from, and then we moved to Tasmania. It's a long story. There have been many moves in my life, but we moved to Tasmania, and then 7 years later we moved back to Victoria, and we came to the Bendigo region. And this property was overgrazed, overtilled, really, really in a bad state. The grass that was here, it looked quite long, but when you really looked at it, it was just in patches. So it was very, very thin, and very quickly in the drought that we experienced soon after we moved here, the whole property turned to dust. We do have some remnant vegetation, native vegetation, on approximately 10 acres of the property, and we believe that area had been mined for alluvial gold in the gold rush in the 1850s, 1860s, thereabouts. There's evidence to show that it had been mined, and we know that from historical research and history papers. We know that this area, in fact, just a little down the road, we had the biggest, I think it was the biggest gold mine in the southern hemisphere. But anyway, so yes, we know that the area was mined for gold. And it's had damage from that as well. So our intention, because we really do believe in conservation and sustainability and environmental issues, we very quickly started putting trees on the property. both exotic and native. We are not purists, so we just believe that whatever grows here, whether it's exotic or native, we're going to grow it for the sake of the wildlife, for the sake of the ground, the improving the soil. So have slowly done that over the last 10 years. The first 3 years we lived on the property in a little cottage that we very quickly had built. And it was just a little package kit sort of home. And we weren't too sure whether we would stay here or not, because the weather was, we knew the weather was going to be a challenge for us. But this area has proved to be really convenient. It's not far from Melbourne. We can get a train in or we can drive in. Bendigo is a good hub for medical issues, as I will tell you in a minute. Medical, we've got a wonderful hospital, a new hospital that was built about, I think they finished it about 6 years ago. It has everything you could need. We have shops and supermarkets and all of that, and we have a choice. And Eaglehawk is not far from us, so that's a lovely little shopping area too. So it just proved to be convenient. We're not far from the New South Wales border, and although Australia is large, and for those of you who are overseas, we have to drive many kilometres, sometimes, a good 40 minutes or an hour before you get to a reasonable sized town, or any town at all. So Australia is massive in that regard, and we do need cars here to be able to get around. Even though we have a train service, we need a car to get to the train station. So yeah, it just proved to be convenient. And then as we started growing the trees, we realised then that it had its own microclimate. The trees and buildings created a microclimate. So we decided to stay, and Mark actually built this house, and I helped him. And we had help from other people. We had electricians and plumbers and all of that. And we did have a builder help us with a really big framework, because the house, we have 10-foot ceilings, and then we have a huge double gables, and a box gutter down the centre of the gables. So it's big in its, compared to other homes, it's not a big home to live in. The rooms are big, but we designed it that way. We designed the house ourselves. It's a very simple home. It does have wide Australian verandas around it. It's what we would call a Victorian farmhouse. So we wanted the age. I love historic homes. I have always renovated homes, older homes. So even though it's new, I wanted the older style. And of course, being out in this heat in the middle of a paddock, essentially, we needed the verandas for passive cooling and heating. So Mark built this. Yes, it's not very big. The rooms are big, but the whole house, compared to today's standards, it's not that big. But it is quite tall, because we are up on I was going to say stilts, but we're up on stumps. So that, included with the 10-foot ceilings and then the high roof, which you can get up and walk around in, overall it looks big. So yes, we built this, and then from there we have just continually developed the garden and improved the soil naturally. And we can discuss all of this in future sneaky midweeker videos. I won't bore you all now, but it's just to give you a little rundown of who we are and what we do. Yeah, so Mark has built a lot of the shade house and a couple of other sheds and things, and I built the chicken run. So we're fairly handy, and we're fairly, we do love building and creating things, but our real passion is the garden and mixing those exotics and natives. So that's that for the property. What we try not to do, we also try not to bring materials in or take materials off the property. So whatever we have here is what we have, what has either been here. Like, we don't take soil off the property and we don't bring soil in, and nor do we do that with compost either. Everything stays on the property in that regard. We do try to upcycle, recycle. Most of the furniture, I'm just trying to think, I think all the furniture is antique or secondhand. Mainly, well, so that we recycle, but also because I'm not very keen on a lot of the quality of new furniture. I mean, you know, and if you do get quality, it's extremely expensive. So yeah, it's a little bit of both. That I love the old style, I love the quality of older furniture, but it's also that it's not as expensive either to buy. And sometimes, you know, family will be giving away furniture, so we put our hand up for that. If it fits in the house, we do that. Yeah, so we really do enjoy old and vintage things and recycling and upcycling, as I say. So, and we enjoy the garden, which leads me into the next topic, to get to know us, and also our first book. Because as you can see, it is early this morning, so you probably see the bags under my eyes, and I'm probably chatting without any direction, but so I do apologise. But we have callistemon, and this is for the benefit of those of you who are overseas. I know Australians will know this, but it is for the benefit of those who are not in Australia. These are callistemons. They are native. The callistemons come in all sorts of colours. In the garden, we have the flowers are white, cream, purple, yellow, pink and yellow. I think there's one at the back there that is the brush. These are also commonly known as bottle brush, but they're callistemon. They're also known as callistemon. But the brush on them, there's one at the back that is pink, and it has little gold ends to the brushes on to the ends of the brush. They're just beautiful. We have, what else? We have violet, all sorts of colours. They come in beautiful colours. But at the moment, as of today, the flowers are going off a bit. It's now coming time for them to stop flowering. So I could only pick these ones and a couple of the pinkies for you. Now these, Mark very kindly picked them early hours of this morning so that he didn't stand on a snake in the garden, but that's another story I will go into. This is a lemon gum. Lemon, it is lemon, isn't it? Yes, lemon gum. Yes, I'm just trying to think. I've had a blank, but yes. And when they give off, the eucalypts give off an oil, and that's why in Australia, when you have a forest of gum, there is a bit of a blue haze. If you ever visit Australia, or if you live in Australia and you don't know this, there is a blue haze, and that is in the heat. The gums give off an oil, the eucalypts give off an oil, and it creates that blue haze. But when you touch them, in fact, when Mark and I were putting them up this morning, the lemon scent is just stunning. They're absolutely stunning. So that's that. And then this is actually, this is called a white cedar. It is, we believe it's Australia's only native deciduous tree. It's a rainforest tree, and it has these beautiful purple, sort of lavender coloured flowers, and then they get these little pods where the seeds are kept. Normally what happens is, these are last year's seeds, so the tree comes out green, let's just say, to begin with, because it's a bit of a which comes first, the chicken or the egg, but it comes out in the leaf. Then as summer goes, and of course we have these flowers. Then as summer goes and we go into autumn, they drop the leaves and they have these pods. Now normally we're in spring now, the end of spring, so what will happen, we have all of them at once, and then in the real summer, our true summer, the pods will drop, we lose the flower, we just have the leaf, and these pods will drop, and then the cycle, it goes again. So for now in spring, right now it's just started flowering, so we have the leaf, the flower, and the seed pod. It's fantastic. It's really fascinating. Australia has some such beautiful plants, and that leads me into this, which is our very first book. Oh, I've just dropped our hat, sorry. Now, I am a beekeeper as well, just to let you know. I have 11 hives, and that sort of keeps us in honey, it keeps us in wax, we make our own candle, or I make my own candles, and we supply friends and family with honey. This year I will be splitting some of those hives, and we will probably end up, in a few weeks, we'll probably end up with around about 17 hives, which may be a little too many for us, but that's another problem that we have to deal with. So I have with beekeeping, you are constantly refreshing honey frames and wax frames and boxes and equipment, as you do with any hobby or business. So we have a beekeeping supplier. They are located in Kyneton, and they're Australian. Two Australian girls, Jo and Ali. Hi, Jo and Ali, if you're watching. They are wonderful. They know their stuff. They've been in bees a long time, or in the bee industry for a long time. And they began a business, I think about 5 years ago, called WAGGLE and FORAGE. I think in one of our videos when, it's a sneaky midweeker and I'm showing you the beehives, I'll actually take you down there and show you the setup that they have. One of the things that they do sell is this book. It's one of a number of books. This is Honey and Pollen Flora. Now, this is a big book. This is heavy. I will just get my glasses on. Sorry, everyone. It ruins the situation, doesn't it? But anyway. Now, this is written and organised by the Department of Primary Industries here in New South Wales, but here in Australia. This is Honey and Pollen Flora of Southeastern Australia, which incorporates Victoria. This is a really brilliant guide for for beekeepers, because it gives you all of the trees and native trees and shrubs that are important for bees, because we have native bees as well. So they're important for bees, and native bees and honey bees, which are imported bees, which is the ones that we have too. And it gives you a rating. I'll just show you. It gives you the tree, and it gives you a photo, and then it gives you the rating of pollen and nectar that you get from each tree, and how valuable it is or isn't in your garden. It sort of rates it, how important it is on your property for the honeybee. But what we have found is it's really good for gardening as well, because it tells us how big the tree is going to be, how important it is. We can then look at the rating of nectar and pollen of the tree and how that will affect our girls, our bees, and where we can place it on the property. Because for those of you overseas, you may not know, because Australia is not. It's overlooked, I think. It's overlooked in a lot of ways. And people tend to think that we just have eucalyptus trees and that's it, that there's one variety and that it grows anywhere. But that's not the case. There are multiple types of eucalypts, multiple callistemons and other native, we even have a native rosemary called a westringia. So, and there's different types of that as well. So some natives we cannot grow here in Victoria or in this part of Victoria. So too, let's say in Queensland where there are rainforests, they may not be able to grow some of our eucalypts up in Queensland and Darwin or in Western Australia. So this is a really good gardening book. It is also brilliant if you are overseas and you are interested in Australian natives. This is brilliant. I bought it because I bought it a number of years ago. It's still available. It's still published. I bought it a number of years ago from WAGGLE and FORAGE for the beekeeping. But then we found it was an absolutely brilliant gardening guide. It doesn't tell you, it's not a gardening book. It just tells you what plants are important or how they rate in terms of nectar and pollen, as I say, and where they are best grown and where they originate and all of that. So this, if you're looking for a quasi-gardening book, if you don't have bees, I would actually recommend this. This is all-encompassing. It's a really brilliant book. It's not super cheap, but if I bought it because we are, as I say, I'm a beekeeper and I am an avid beekeeper, and we're increasing our hives and we have over the years, and we're very careful. We harvest our honey sustainably, so we don't harvest honey from every hive every year. We give the girls a break, and we always make sure we only take what we need. That's why, just for the two of us, really, we have 11 hives, because we only take a small amount each year from random hives. And then next year we leave them alone and we will choose other hives. We are more about the health and well-being of the bees, of the hive itself. Because when you have a healthy hive, like anything, when you have a healthy hive and you're looking after it, it actually rewards you more than if you're constantly taking from it. It's like anything in nature. If you're constantly taking from it, eventually it can't reward you because it can't replenish quick enough. So yes, I recommend this. Now the other thing I did want to say, which I forgot to say, the Darcy's bakery has absolutely wonderful cakes and slices and bread, as I said earlier. But if you can't get to Darcy's, because a lot of you aren't in Australia and you're not even in Victoria, my next book to recommend, and I have recommended this before, it's not just this book, there's a whole series of books. This is exclusive to Australia, and when I say exclusive, it is the Australian Women's Weekly. The Australian Women's Weekly was once a weekly magazine. I don't think they publish it anymore, but it was a magazine that gave you, interviews with Australian women or actors or entrepreneurs, and they gave you there was a section where they gave you recipes and things. And over the years, they have developed a plethora of cookbooks, and because I am an avid cook, that's another thing. I do cook all the time. In winter, autumn, winter, mainly because it's then cooler and it's not so much a problem with heat in the house. So autumn and winter, I cook constantly. So I make my own cakes and slices. And of course I make our own meals, every meal. And I make sweets as well. So lollies, so honeycomb, licorice, Turkish Delight, Rocky Road, all of those I make. And I swear by these. Australian Women's Weekly cookbook. Now this one is called The Country Collection. It was published, look, I've had it probably for about 14 years or thereabouts. It's not saying, hang on, I'll just get this for you. Look, it would have been published about that time, so 14 years ago. It's not going to tell me, is it? It's not going to tell me quickly, everyone. But it does have, what I did want to show you, the Lamingtons particularly, well, all of these are quintessentially Australian, but the Lamingtons are probably most well known as an Australian cake. And in the Australian Women's Weekly, the Country Collection, probably in most Australian Women's Weekly books, cookbooks, you will find a recipe for Lamingtons. Now, what I can do for you, if you wish, if you're interested, you can email me at the osbooktravels@yahoo.com, and I will give you the recipe. I can do that for you because I was going to put it in the description box below, but I think we're going to have we're going to have too much information in the description box. So if you're interested, because not everybody will be interested in the recipe, but I can give you the recipe. Failing that, I do recommend the Australian Women's Weekly. They have Christmas books, which we will discuss in the Christmas video coming up in December. They have Christmas books, they have Christmas magazines, cakes, plain cakes, as in books, recipe books on plain cakes, birthday cakes, slices, meals. They really are wonderful and reliable. I have cooked with these for too many years to mention on here, and have always found the recipes, no matter how many times I change them to suit our style of eating, because we do like a lot of herbs and we don't eat meat, we're vegetarian. So no matter what I do with these recipes to change them to our requirements or our likes, they never fail me. They're absolutely fantastic. So I recommend Australian Women's Weekly. If you are overseas, I would definitely get online and you will be able to buy them for sure. If they're not in your local bookshop, you will be able to buy them. So that is one I recommend if you're wanting. I think they also have a vanilla slice recipe in here, or it's one of their books that they have vanilla slice and apple cake as well. But that's only if you can't get to Darcy's Bakery, because they do have, these are award-winning, so they're beautiful. But if you want to make your own, they are in that recipe book. And of course, if you're a beekeeper or if you are an avid gardener, I really do recommend this. It's a fabulous book. Okay, that's those. What else? We have so much. Now, we do have a book competition, but I will have Mark pull a name out of a hat. Now, what actually happened, to explain that did sound a bit random, didn't it? But what we've done, we've asked all of you to send us your name if you were interested in entering the book competition for today, to put your name in an email to us. And most of you, well, a lot of you have, not most of you, but a lot of you have. And we're going to use our Australian akubra. We use these out in the garden all the time. We can't go outside. We always have winter, spring, summer or autumn. We always have SPF 50 plus. We have sunscreen on all the time because as you may or may not know, Australia has a high rate of, I think it's the highest in the world, incidence of skin cancer. So we always use a hat and cover ourselves up and use sunscreen as well. So we're going to use my akubra, and we're going to put all your names in the hat, and Mark is going to draw a name out. It'll be the winner of our book competition for today. So that's that. Now, before I go on with any more books, I will give you a little bit more of a history as to why this channel began. It's a bit of a story. So what happened was about 5 years ago, I became extremely unwell. physically. And without going into detail and boring you with it all, I landed up with a life-threatening disease, and without medical intervention, I wouldn't be here now. It's just that simple. So I became extremely unwell. In 16 months, I had 4 operations. One of those operations was not related to the issue, but we believe it may have been loosely attached to what I was going through. I also had years of medical treatment, medication. And it was an amazing experience, even though you certainly look at your own mortality. It was an incredible experience. I'm glad I went through it. It helped me understand life a bit more and where my life was going and what I was doing. I don't regret it for a minute. It was an amazing experience, and it taught me a lot. And it taught me a lot about my own body and my own being, my own soul, if you like. It was also amazing to experience the incredible medical staff at Bendigo Hospital. I was in there more times than for emergency. As a result of some of the treatment I was going through, I had other issues that were being caused by that, that were also life-threatening. And it was an incredible experience, and the staff were absolutely wonderful. I think overall I had a team of, there would have been, probably with all the specialists and everything, there would have been 40 people minimum who helped to save my life over that 16 months. And of course there were emergency staff and all the nurses, and even the tea ladies were absolutely wonderful. So I went through that, and I am still not completely out of the woods, but you know, I've got a second chance at life, definitely, unless something untoward happens. I'm on my way to absolute recovery. So I was really ill in that time, really housebound, and then of course COVID came along, and so you're even more housebound. Now, as a result of the operations I had, these also became debilitating, and also kept me at home. And so you go through all of those emotions and concerns. How am I ever going to get back on track? And, where does life take me from here? So from that, I decided to just take the bull by the horn, so to speak, and I decided that I was not going to let this rule my life. And it was last year, the beginning of last year, I decided I needed time on my own, time away from the house, just a day for me, just to do my own thing. And so I absolutely love train journeys. I love trains. I particularly love steam trains, but I really enjoy train journeys. And short or long, my dream is to one day travel on the Orient Express and also the Garn here in Australia. One day I will do that, but in the meantime I'm happy with regional train travel. And so what I did is Mark dropped me off at the station, and I had my backpack with everything that I needed, and I went into Melbourne for the day. Each month I went in one day each month on a set day, and went in, and the idea was just to be me anonymously around strangers. I did not want to be fussed over or have appointments or do anything like that. I just wanted to be me. So I did that, and naturally was drawn to bookshops because something else in relation to the Australian book travels is I actually said this in the very first video I made for this channel. My mum, before I even went to school, my mum would read to me every night at bedtime. And she was a beautiful reader. She was also an amazing reciter of poetry. But when she read books to me, it just brought the pages alive, it brought the story alive, and I was sold. I just loved reading from there on in. Then when I went to school, my mum taught me how to read, just basic reading, and then by the time I went to school I was reading, and then of course you develop more, as children do, or generally they do. So, or we hope they do. With good teachers and a love of school and a love of learning, we hope children learn and read a lot. And so from there, I've always read. Sometimes I have read 5 books at a time. I'll read a chapter of each a day, and I do that less now. I concentrate more on just 1 or 2 books at a time. But yeah, and my favourite genre is the Golden Age classics, those detective stories. I've always loved Agatha Christie, but I really love, my favourite writer is Freeman Wells Crofts, amongst others. So yes, my love of reading, when I was travelling into Melbourne, I was naturally drawn to bookshops. Now, when I came, probably, it would have been about August last year, because of my situation, I can't work in a normal working environment. And so I needed a job. I've always worked, my whole life I have worked full-time. And I've had my own business. I had a dog grooming business. That's another story for another time. But I couldn't go back into mainstream work. So I was really worried about this because I wanted, as everyone does, you want your own independence and your own income. And I wanted to contribute to the household, of course. So I was really concerned about where I was going and what was happening and what would I do with my life. And I was here one day in the garden and I thought, why don't I mix everything? Why don't I begin a YouTube channel? I had been watching YouTube whilst I was effectively housebound and thoroughly enjoyed it. It took me away from my own life, my own situation, and it was really good for mental health. So I thought, why don't I do that for others? Because I did want to volunteer in the medical field, but again, that physically I couldn't always be relied upon to attend to other people. So because of my situation. So I thought, if I go out and travel, I can do it in my time. And if something happens whilst I'm out, it doesn't matter. I just turn off the camera and I film another day or in another hour. It gave me that flexibility, and also I could talk about what I love, which is books. That had then progressed in, well, I'll take the channel with me to Melbourne and I can show you around Melbourne. And then I thought, well, why don't I combine that and make it a really big picture of Australia, show you Australia wherever you are in the world, whether you're in Australia or whether you are overseas, if you are housebound particularly, or you can't travel for whatever reason, that we could do that for you. So we could travel to various places and talk books and talk about Australia, Australian flora, Australian fauna, the Indigenous culture, because we do have 2 wonderful histories, one more incredible than the other. The Indigenous history here is, the culture is 60,000 years plus. I believe it is the oldest in the world. I mean, that is just incredible. And they were farming before Europeans came here. They were farming, they were conservationists, environmentalists. They were just, it's just an amazing culture. They have their dream time, which for those of you who don't know, the Aboriginal dream time is their myths and legends. Effectively, for want of a better description, it's their myths and legends that they have told down the generations by mouth, word of mouth, on how things came into being. So how the Australian trees or the Australian fauna or the Australian landscape came into being. It is one of the most incredible and powerful stories. Dreamtime is just magnificent. So if you don't know, please Google it. I'm hoping to present a lot more of that on the channel as time goes on and as I become more experienced, or perhaps if we have a First Nations or Aboriginal person on the channel, that would be fantastic. But yeah, and then we have the European history, of course, with Captain Cook first came here, 1788 and so forth. And that's brilliant because we have the architecture and there's history, we have the gold rush and so two amazing histories. And from that, I wanted to then, I thought, well, why not promote Australia? When I was reading Australian books, I thought, hang on, I've just come across this. How did I not know? Why an Australian author's not being hugely promoted? So, to cut a long story short, I then decided that we would not only read, because I read any book and every book, apart from I'm not a big fantasy person and I'm not a big autobiography reader either. I love memoirs, but not direct, straight autobiographies. So I thought, well, why not really promote Australian authors where I can, and Australian publishing houses, and that then morphed into taking you away to towns looking for bookshops and promoting those, hopefully promoting those businesses, which then evolved into, well, the further afield we go, we have to take the animals with us. We can't leave them here. Somebody looks after our property whilst we're away, but it's a lot to ask them to look after the dogs and the cat. So we then decided we love going to bed and breakfasts. We love camping and all of that, but we do love our bed and breakfasts rather than hotels. So we decided to look out for pet-friendly historic accommodation so that we could give you the history of the accommodation and show you, present to you the fact that it was also dog-friendly and have our dogs and cat in the accommodation. So that is how we've come about for Australian book travels. And in fact, for the future, what does that bring for us? So you have all, I'll just take this opportunity to tell you that today's our birthday. It is a year since I sat in this very chair, just describing who I was and what I wanted for the channel. There was nothing else. There were no books, there was no travel. And from that, we have, as I say, the channel has evolved into more of how we wanted it to present. And you have all been absolutely wonderful, subscribing, liking and sharing. And we now have, I think it's 1,130 subscribers. We love your comments. We really enjoy interacting with you all. And so we just really love all of that and we really appreciate it. Today is really about applauding you as well and thanking you. So actually, before I go any further, that's what I'm going to do. Thank you, everyone. Raise your glasses. We really appreciate your support. You have no idea how important it is, because it's all very well us, and me particularly wanting to do this, but it's you who then encourages me to be better and do better and be a better person. So thank you. It's because of you that this channel exists 1 year after it began. So thank you, everyone. Another sip. Bit early, but that's all right. Yes, so for the future, what we are wanting to do now, our aim with your help, no matter where you are in the world, if you can really encourage anybody you think would enjoy Australia, books or travel or just some everyday sort of silliness, and watch our channel evolve, please do encourage neighbours, friends, work colleagues, auntie, grandpa, grandma, whoever. Please try to encourage them to watch the channel, like and subscribe, and comment. We want to connect with all of you. It's the only way that we are really going to be able to promote our Australian authors and our Australian publishers and the real Australia, the country towns that are sometimes just surviving or they're really becoming entrepreneurial and they're becoming wonderful country towns. So all of them are wonderful, but it's just some are bigger and surviving better than others, probably like everywhere around the world. But we care about Australia and we care about our Australian people and how they survive and the businesses. So that's important to us. So yes, what we're wanting to do, my next goal is 10,000 subscribers. If you could please help us do that. It's free. Let everyone know it is free to join the channel. It is free to watch. And hopefully, if they can't find, they're not into books, then perhaps they'll like the travel and vice versa. And as the channel grows, I've started the Sneaky Midweekers, which I'm wanting it to be a little bit of anything, a sneaky midweeker. It may just be a 10-minute video that we go for a walk in the Australian bush. We have already been to the Fitzroy Gardens. I think that may have been a half-hour walk around and history on just a part of the Fitzroy Gardens in Melbourne. A couple of months ago, I showed you around our chicken coop that I want to renovate. That is ongoing. I promise you we will upload an update on that. And yeah, so the Sneaky Midweekers could be anything. So it could be cooking. We're going to try our best at cooking for you on the channel. I get a little bit self-conscious in that regard. So, and also we built the house and we've been living in it for a few years, but I'm sure you all appreciate we haven't finished everything. So even though we have our certificate of occupancy, we had that a long, long time ago, and it's comfortable, and the majority of the house is finished, but the kitchen isn't. It's not the way I want it to look eventually. So I'm a little bit self-conscious of showing you the kitchen at the moment because it is not finished. It's clean and it's workable and I can work it, but I just don't want to show you. It's not finished. There is so much we want to do. So I'm a little bit, I think that will happen in good time, but just not yet. I'm happy to give you recipes though. Yeah, and just really promoting all of the Australian authors. We have so many brilliant Australian authors, which leads me on to the next. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have a little break now and make sure that the camera is operating properly. And then we will come back and a little intermission. So top up your glasses, everyone. Have a slice of cake if you have anything handy with you. And we will come back and have a look at my favourite Australian authors that I have read just this year in the last 10 months. So give me 5 minutes and I will be back. Okay, I had a little break. This is definitely going to be a long video and I apologise, but I don't, because it is our birthday and I'm wanting to make this special for you. So apologies if you're not wanting a long video, but I guess you can stop it and perhaps watch it a little later or not finish watching it. It's up to you. But I wanted it to be special and I wanted it to involve all of these aspects of who we are. Now, the next aspect is our Australian authors and the books that I have read this year that The books I've read this year that have really touched me, that have really made an impression on me. So I've probably read, look, I guess it doesn't really matter how many I've read. I have read an awful lot of books. I am a prolific reader. But these books, they're all Australian because that's who we are today. Particularly, I want to concentrate on Australian authors. And these ones I'm about to show you, I don't know, we might have about 20 that have really impressed me, genuinely impressed me, and I have been more than happy to read them and recommend them. So let's get on. I don't want to cause too much because we do still have a lot of the celebrations to go on with. So just a little, let's have a little sip. Doesn't hurt. A little bit of champagne courage. Okay, here we go. Oh my goodness, everyone. Okay, if you've been watching the channel for a while, you all know, you will know, and if you don't, you will in a minute, that Fremantle Press is one of my favourite publications because they are all Australian. They really promote all of their, they're based in Western Australia, and they really promote West Australian authors, not exclusively, but first and foremost, they're West Australian authors. And I have been so incredibly impressed, not only with Fremantle Press, their customer service, or their service, they're wonderful to me. And so that sort of indicates to me, if they're wonderful to me, that I have no doubt that they're wonderful to their authors, and it really shines through in the authors, in their books, in their stories. So all of these you're about to see, all Australian, well, all of them are all Australian, but these are all Australian and published by Fremantle Press, and either the author is based in Western Australia or the story is in Western Australia, or both. So let's go through them. Robert Edison's The Worsener's Tale was absolutely brilliant. It is an intelligent read. It is a murder mystery. Begins in WA, Western Australia, and takes us over to England. Has the feel and has a backstory but similar to the Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. This was such an intelligent read, it blew my mind. It's probably one of the only, in fact, I think it is the only murder mystery novel that I have read with footnotes. It's just brilliant. I recommend it. He is so good. I actually bought his first two books because I loved him so much. That is Robert Edison, and I absolutely encourage you to read it. It's fantastic. Oh, this was great. Alan Carter's Prize Catch, Fremantle Press again. This is based in Tasmania. Because I lived in Tasmania, it really resonated with me too, but it's a mystery. It's a murder, but there's more mystery, and there are so many authorities and private company involved in this, and so many characters. It is absolutely fantastic, and I recommend it. Brilliant. Alan Carter. Dave Warner, When It Rains. This was fantastic. Again, it's a murder mystery. It involves Detective Dan Clement in WA, involves crocodiles. As you can see there's a crocodile. Brilliant photo, by the way. This was brilliant. Absolutely. If you're into murder mysteries, I recommend all of these. They're absolutely fantastic. And I genuinely would not recommend them if I was a bit apprehensive to do so. But no, absolutely fantastic. And Fremantle Press, I bought one of these. I bought Kim Scott's Benang. I bought this, and then Fremantle Press very kindly gave me these to review and to show you. That was earlier in the year. This is their treasure series. This is Fremantle Press treasure series, the most beautiful series of books I think I have on my shelf from Australia, particularly. They are all hardcovers with the most beautiful pictures of Australian flora. This one is pears. This is a bit of a different story. This is by Elizabeth Joly, and this is Absolutely brilliant. It seems to be very, for want of a better word, it seems a little bit of a mundane story and then it turns really quite macabre. It's absolutely fantastic. Stories from Suburban Road. This is by T.A.G. Hungerford, who is a very famous Australian author. This is sort of snatches of his life in Australia. Absolutely brilliant. So a memoir, absolutely brilliant. And A Fortunate Life by A.B. Facey, who is also a very famous author from many years ago, from the early 1900s. This is his life story. I cannot recommend every one of these. This is an Indigenous story by Kim Scott. Unbelievable, absolutely beautiful, the whole lot of them. And genuinely, they look beautiful on the shelf. They have matching colour ribbons, depending on what the book is. This is green, so we have a green ribbon marker, blue cover, blue ribbon marker, and so on. This is a beautiful series, and Fremantle Press in Australia, if you order in Australia, you order 2 or more books, it is free shipping around Australia. And they have tried... with Australia Post, they have organised the cheapest post that you can get if you are wanting these books shipped to you outside of Australia. I recommend them. They're all Australian authors. They're magnificent. They've all won awards, as Kim Scott has. I think they've all won awards, I think. Or certainly the authors, if not the stories. Absolutely brilliant. And they look beautiful on your bookshelf. And hint, hint, Fremantle Press, it would be lovely for you to publish more of those in that treasure series. They're absolutely brilliant. More on Fremantle Press in the coming weeks and months. Okay, one of my favouriteest authors, Australian author, is Tia Cooper. This is not her latest. I think this was 2022, perhaps. But I just wanted to show you as an author. I did read this much earlier in the year, I think. This is The Talented Mrs. Greenaway. There's always more to her stories. There's love story and there's mystery, in a lot of them. But you get the real Australia, and oftentimes it is historic. So they're historical fiction. Any history in here is correct, but the story is fictional. I recommend her. She has a whole series. She's fantastic. This was a new one I read this year, Among the Grey Gums by Paula J. Bevan. This was beautiful. We took you away to Clydesdale, to a cottage in Clydesdale, and I synchronised our cooking with this era. This was written, I think this was 1840s. Yes, 1842. And what we did is we made a meal at the historic pet-friendly accommodation in sympathy and empathy with the era of this one, Among the Grey Gums. Do yourself a favour, buy it. It's absolutely brilliant. Oh, this is brilliant. Now, this is Darry Fraser. This was the first one that I read of hers this year, The Milliner of Bendigo, because of course we are near Bendigo, so it drew my eye. I'm so glad I did buy it and read it, because they're historic. There's historical fiction again. The history is factual. The story is fiction. This was absolutely brilliant. Darry Fraser is a great novelist, great storyteller. The one of Darry Fraser's that is due out on the 4th of December is The Night on the Darling River. This is again historical fiction, but it is a little saucier than The Milliner of Bendigo, but it has villains, it is historically correct, it's brilliant. Again, pre-order. Absolutely brilliant, you'll love it. But a bit saucy. So if you're not into saucy, I'd say read it anyway. Make your own conclusion from it. Okay, the one that I finished not that long ago, a week ago, I think, the Lost Letters of Rose Carey. This is Julie Bennett's second novel. Brilliant. 2 timelines, absolutely brilliant. A mystery involved and love story as well. Absolutely, or 2 love stories really. Absolutely brilliant. I recommend this one. Earlier in the year, Mary Lou Stevens, The Chocolate Factory. This is based on the Cadbury Chocolate Factory in Tasmania. Historically correct, but a fictional story, a love story, but also the goings-on that happened around the Cadbury Chocolate Factory in the 1920s, because there was a little bit of shenanigans and a little bit of commercial and industrial skullduggery. This was brilliant, and really, again, coming from Tasmania, I knew a lot of the areas, so it was beautiful. I recommend that. Oh, this one's beautiful. This is Wendy Scarf, One Bright Morning. It's about the bombing, or not wholly and solely about. It's a love story, but it gives you historical fact. When Darwin in Australia was bombed by the Japanese in World War II. Now, when I presented this about a week or so ago, I told you that Wakefield Press, the publishers, was Australian. And I don't know why I thought that. I actually thought that they were Australian and that they were based in New South Wales. But further research, because I started to doubt myself, and I researched, and they're actually an American publishing house. So I do apologise for misleading you. I misled you in good faith. I really didn't, because it says here Wakefield Press in South Australia. But it's actually, that says McLaren Vale. So when I Googled it, it told me that it was an American company. So I'm not sure. I will confirm that for you all. But nevertheless, Australian author, Australian story, absolutely brilliant. If you want to know a little bit about the war, you want a nice little love story, you want to know about Darwin, brilliant. I loved it. Oh no, everyone. Now, this one, a couple of these, including One Bright Morning, but this one really, I don't think a book has affected me this way since Laurie Lee's Cider with Rosie. That's the truth. This is Kira Geddes' The Story Thief. Oh my goodness. It is Australian author, Australian publishing house, Australian story, Australian author, Australian story, Australian publishing house. This is a fictional story, but again, intertwined with historical fact. And one of our most famous historical authors, or authors in history, Henry Lawson, is interwoven in this beautiful, beautiful story. It's written like a memoir in a way, and it's Australian, and it gives you the Australian feel, the Australian atmosphere, the Australian story. This was honestly, as Cider with Rosie did for me, and even the Diary of a Tuscan Bookshop, once I read this, I actually held it to my heart and I couldn't read a book for a few days. I had to sit with this and digest it. I couldn't betray it by going and reading another book as though I was flippantly reading it or had read it. This was beautiful. I hope it affects you as much as it did me, because this is beautiful. Kira Geddes, I've been in touch with Kira. She has another book, but it won't be for a few years before that comes out. I've told her I want to be first on the list to buy that book, because this was just beautiful. This will go down in history. This is something that should be and will be on everybody's bookshelf. It is absolutely beautiful. A love story, a story interwoven with Henry Lawson. It's about loss and grief, about Australia. It's just beautiful. Can't say any more. Won't go on because I will start looking silly. Another great murder mystery, Agatha Christie, Richard Osman. This is our very own homegrown Amanda Hampson. This is The Tea Ladies. There was one before this. This one came out this year. Was it this year? Amanda, if you're watching, you'll probably cringe thinking, why doesn't she know that? Yes, 2024, it was this year. The Cryptic, I read it this year, but I didn't know, I couldn't remember if it was published this year. This is The Cryptic Clue. This is Australia. Again, the quintessential Australian tea lady in the 1950s and 60s. This is based in Sydney. 4 tea ladies get up to no good. One of them is the most naughty scoundrel you've ever come across, and she will make you laugh. And they go on or murder comes to them in the first and this novel, and there is a new one coming out next year. Again, I've put my name down for that because I love this series. It is fantastic. Equivalent to the Reverend Richard Cole's, his mysteries in Murder in the Parish, which are they're English. Richard Osman's, his Thursday Murder Club, and also, you know, Agatha Christie, in that style, but funny and Australian and better than all of them because it is Australian and an Australian story. I love it. Absolutely, I love this series. The Death of Dora Black, Lainey Anderson, fantastic. Now, this is based on the first Australian police officer who became a detective, and she was the first to be given, the first Australian, or the first woman in the world, I think, to be given equal pay and equal powers of arrest. Was here in South Australia. This is brilliant. I hope there's going to be more. Again, I love it. And it's based in 1917, which is, I really enjoy these historical novels. I love the murder mysteries. They're fantastic because they don't have mobile phones and they don't have all of the current technical equipment that helps the detectives. So these are beautiful. I love them. Another one I read is Fiona Britton's, apologies if I'm mispronouncing that, but this is Violet Kelly and the Jade Owl. Absolutely brilliant. Again in Sydney. Yes, in Sydney in the 1930s. This was great. I loved it. Another murder mystery, period. Absolutely brilliant. I loved it. And I'm hoping I'm going to be on the lookout for more from her because I think this would be a great series, or certainly we'll be reading more of her books because she's a great writer. Oh, this was brilliant. J.P. Palmer, 17 years later, came out this year, read it this year. Absolutely brilliant. Murder mystery, go back in time. Someone was actually prosecuted for the murder, but is it or isn't it a correct conviction? Absolutely brilliant. Scary in places. Australian story. Loved it. Oh, actually, no. I beg your pardon. This is New Zealand story. So, but I loved it. Absolutely loved it. Jane Sullivan, Murder in Punch Lane. In Melbourne, there is a murder in, I'm just reading the back here, 1868. That's right. Absolutely loved it. You need to read this. Great writer. Again, all of these books I'm presenting to you are what I would consider my top reads. I mean, I've had all of my reads this year and for the last few years have been brilliant. All of them, whether they've been Australian or writers from overseas. But I had to cut them down. So these are definitely in my top 20 or whatever. Now, children's books. You all know I love Amelia Mallour, The Lost Book of Magic. This is the third in the series. There is The Bookkeeper's Apprentice was the second, which was a prequel, but the first one was The Grandest Bookshop in the World. This is a great series, hardcover, based in the 1800s. Absolutely magic. I play on the word. Absolutely magic. Australian author, Australian story, true story or true historical facts about Melbourne's biggest bookshop. And then we have some magic. And as I say to you, children's books, everyone can read. And I encourage you all to read children's books. No matter what it is, there are absolutely fantastic Australian children's authors out there that I'm loving. I'm really enjoying. Now, a local here, Bridget Farmer, she comes from Guildford. Guildford we went to in one of our travel videos, so I encourage you to go back and look at that. She is an artist and she's a storyteller. This is Kookaburra. I think she's Irish, but she's an Australian storyteller and she now lives in Australia. These are absolutely brilliant. Great Christmas presents for children. Oh, I love this one, everyone. I really love this one. This is Adam Goods, and Ellie Lang, who he was a footballer, or he may still be a footballer. I have to apologise, I'm not I don't know anything about football, Australian football. So this is Somebody's Land. What I do know is Adam Goods is a brilliant children's author, and this the illustrations in this is just stunning. The presentation, I mean, look at those. Look at that. Aren't they just beautiful? The story itself is about the fact that before the Europeans came here, it was somebody else's land. It was somebody else's land, and we have to respect that. So this is illustrated by David Hardy, but the story is by Adam Goods and Ali Lang, and the story is beautiful. The end papers are gorgeous, great presentation, and there are more in this series I intend to buy. They're absolutely beautiful. Another children's book from Fremantle Press is House by Dan Giovannoni and Charlotte Lane. Apologies if I am mispronouncing that. This is beautiful. The illustrations are stunning, and the story, we won't go into the story, but it is about a house who takes flight. It's absolutely beautiful. The story is lovely, and the illustrations just add to it. Absolutely beautiful. So that is House, and that is again by Fremantle Press. Australian story, Australian authors, Australian publisher. So that's it for the books. They're all the ones that all the top Australian ones I have limited myself that I have read this year. And I do honestly recommend them. I think they're beautiful. So if you can get your hands on a copy, please do. Now, I'm going to take you somewhere for a few minutes. And when we come back, I think we're going to have our book competition. So we'll see you then.
Bendigo Gardens is located alongside the Bendigo Creek in White Hills, approximately 4 kilometres northeast of Bendigo. The gardens were planned and planted at the beginning of the gold rush in 1857. The gardens are spread over 15 acres, and many of the plants that survive today were supplied by Ferdinand von Mueller, director of Melbourne Botanic Gardens at the time. In the 1870s, a lagoon was dug into Bendigo Creek to create a natural wetland. The picnic shelter was built in 1904. The large Arch of Triumph at the garden's entrance was constructed in 1925 as a memorial of World War I, and the large walk-through bird aviary was built in 1987. Garden for the Future within the Botanic Gardens is aimed with heritage sustainability and ecology in mind. There are over 30,000 plants focusing on climate resilience, comprised of 500 Australian natives and exotics. With picnic facilities and large shading gum trees, an educational and interactive playground and information centre, the Botanic Gardens are well worth a visit.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed the walk around the Botanic Gardens, particularly the Gardens for the Future. It's fantastic. Now, Mark took that footage for you just this morning, and he's come back and bought us all, for the channel, as a birthday present, a red flowering gum. As you can see here, unbelievable, for our birthday. So what I thought we'd do is we will, in another video, we will, perhaps in a sneaky midweeker, we will plant this on the property in memory of our first birthday together. So I thought that was absolutely beautiful for Mark to do that for our birthday. So thank you, Mark. And happy birthday to us. It's just wonderful. This is just absolutely fantastic. Now, whilst you were walking around the Botanic Gardens, oh, everyone, I had another sip of champagne and I had a whole Lamington. It's gone. It's just gone. There were 4 there and now it's gone. So I'm so sorry. I would like to offer you one. Would you like one? I'd like to offer you. And also we have I might just offer you one of these if I don't have a crash first. For our first birthday, these are, and I grew up with these, although I grew up with the really big ones, the really big variety. The Caramella Bears, they are full of caramel, oh gosh, and the Chocolate Freddo Frogs. So if you'd like one with our first birthday, or is it that way? You're more than welcome to have one. You're more than welcome. Okay, so that's that. And I've eaten the cake. I'm so sorry. I hope you're all eating cake your end. It's a shame we can't all be together, but anyway. We are really, aren't we? But just through the internet. Is it the internet? Or anyway, through the cyber world, whatever that is. Okay, now the other thing I wanted to tell you. Earlier, I told you that this was a lemon gum. It's yellow gum. That's what it is. So Mark has informed me that this one here is a yellow gum. But the perfume, when you squeeze it, is actually lemon. It's just beautiful. But it's indigenous to this area, and it's just beautiful, really lovely. And this is probably one of my favourite flowering gums, is the red flowering gum, and that's why Mark bought it for our birthday. So that's exciting. Okay, the next thing, something I wanted to tell you. We will do the book competition very shortly, and we do have a travel video coming up as well. I did warn you all that this was a long one, but you can stop and start it whenever you want, and you can finish it or not finish it or do whatever you want. But we just wanted to give you the whole range of little bits and pieces to celebrate our birthday, and again encompassing that, the Australia, the books and the travel. So do with it what you will, everyone. Now, one thing I must say, I really want to give a shout out to a number of people. One is to an Australian podcaster who goes by the name of A Novel Review Podcast. He is a wonderful podcaster. He reviews all sorts of books here in Australia, and he paints his interpretation of the book to the book that he's reading. He has some really beautiful paintings. So I recommend, if you are interested, by all means go to it's A Novel Review Podcast, all one word, and he's on Instagram, and I think he's particularly on Instagram, but have a look, check him out. He's a great podcaster, and he's a great reviewer of books. So you'll like him. And I love the fact that he's Australian and that he does these beautiful little paintings, watercolours and things. He's a really talented man. So please do check him out. The other thing I wanted to do, there were a couple of people, and forgive me if I forget, and I will try not to forget you. Not the first. What I'm wanting to say is that there's a group of you who are extremely supportive of this channel. So I want to say this. Thank you to Anne-Marish in the Netherlands, Kevin, and I'll try not to give the surnames, but Kevin in the UK. There's Glynis in the UK. There's Daniela here in Australia, Vintage Sue, Peter, and Jasper. Thank you all. And look, as we go along, there's Leanne W. I won't try not to give you surnames. You all know who you are. And you are so supportive, and you always comment and like the videos and our Instagram posts. And really, it makes a big difference to us, not just to the channel, but it makes a big difference to us that we know that you're watching and that you're appreciating what we're doing. And I've said before, we really enjoy interacting with your comments, with you through your comments. Now, that's the other thing I want to suggest to you. I will be available, even though this is recorded early this morning, I will be available all day. If you comment or you want to ask a question, if there's something I haven't covered here in this video, please ask the question. If I am comfortable enough to answer it, I will. Otherwise, I will tell you that I'm not comfortable answering it. So please ask questions or make statements if you like, and if you like what you see, that's wonderful. Okay, I think, let me have a look. I've got a little list here and I just want to make sure. I'm going to put my spectacles on. Where are they? Oh, I don't have my spectacles, everyone. I've lost them whilst you were all walking around the Botanic Gardens. I've lost my spectacles. Oh no. Okay, I will still try here. So Vintage Sue, Peter and Jasper, Daniela, Kiara, of course, and Kira Geddes, the author. She has been wonderful and so supportive. She is the author of The Story Thief. Ah, that was an amazing book. Anyway, and there is Lynn, there is Glennies, there is Sarah G. You know who you are here in Australia. And who else do we have? That's it. Anne Marie, Kevin. I really want to thank you. You are always supportive. You're always commenting on the channel or on the Instagram posts. And it really does make a difference to us. Because the thing is, everyone, making a YouTube channel is not cheap. It is if you just sit here in these surrounds, it's just the cost of a camera and your editing package and all of that. But for us, we travel and we buy our book. The majority of the books we buy ourselves. Fremantle Press have been absolutely wonderful, and they give us the books and then we review them and recommend them. But apart from that, any other book that you see, I have either had for many years, the cookbooks, for instance, and I love them and I really do recommend them. But any other book I buy, and even the traveling, we go out and, it costs us. It's petrol and it's the pet-friendly accommodation, the historic pet-friendly accommodation, it all costs us. So it's not cheap, and it's not cheap to do. And that's another thing that I want to discuss with you too, is where this channel goes and how we're going to make it sustainable for us. We want to be able to bring you more and more and more and go further and further across Australia. But we are on one wage, like most people. We're on, a budget. And so the idea is that this channel hopefully will sort of sustain itself. It will pay for itself. And that is why I ask you all, do please like, share and subscribe. Get the word out there about Australian authors. That's most important, is to promote Australia, promote Australian authors, promote Australian businesses, Australian publishing houses and bookbinders and anything to do with books and more. Any, honest, authentic Australian business. And if we can do that, then hopefully, if we can get, say, at this stage, 10,000 subscribers, which costs nothing, but if we can do that, then YouTube, not only does it make us more prevalent and we can get out there to more people and show people the real Australia and promote Australia, it also helps us with bringing in the adverts. So the more people watching, the more we get paid for the adverts. And being brutally honest with you, let's be brutally honest. I'll tell you, I'm not going to hide anything from you. We've been on this channel now for a year, and we have had issues with copyright. We thought we had paid for, it's a long story, everyone, but we thought we'd paid for music, the copyright for music, but it turns out that had actually expired. And so anything that we made before, any of the videos that we made before August this year, they don't make us money. So even though people watch them, they don't make us money. And anything from August to now, the videos along with the adverts have made us less than $200. So that's just being honest. That's just letting you know how YouTube works. It's not everyone is a millionaire. It is work. I love what I'm doing. I absolutely love it. I'm so privileged to be here, to have a supportive partner who has bought, we've both bought the equipment and is very supportive with traveling with me and helping me out with some of the footage and buying the books and all sorts of things. I mean, I couldn't be more privileged, actually. But in order to help that continue to grow and to expand our travel adventures, we need the channel to really be paying for itself. So we're asking you again, please do like, share and subscribe. Share with anybody. Even if you go to, an auntie's house or grandma and grandpa's or a friend's house, surreptitiously log on to YouTube and subscribe them to our channel. And maybe they'll, if they didn't already know about us and they didn't know about Australia, perhaps they'll become interested in Australia and Australian authors. I'm not asking you to do anything too devious. Or am I? I'm not sure, maybe. Okay, so that's another area that we want to expand on, and we need your help to do that. We need your help to survive. This is your channel, and this is why when Mark bought this beautiful red flowering gum, it's in honour of our channel. It's in honour of our birthday. And we really appreciate you all so much. So I hope I haven't missed anybody who has regularly commented and contacted me. As I say, get onto a novel review podcast. He is fantastic. He's a great artist. And, I recommend you watching and listening to him. And get on his Instagram. If you do nothing else, at least get on here to his Instagram page and support him, because he's really a great Australian. And he supports us too. He follows us, which is a nice thing. I like to be able to support fellow podcasters and YouTubers and Instagrammers, no matter where you are, particularly if you're in Australia, but no matter where you are in the world, I like to support everyone. Okay, now the other thing, for those of you who don't know, when we travel to various towns across Australia, at this stage it's limited to Victoria and just across the border into South Australia and New South Wales and a little bit into Queensland. It will be in the future. We donate secondhand books to street free libraries on behalf of the channel. So when we come across a street free library, we film it, and then we like to donate a book. And what we're going to do in the future, everyone, is Mark has designed a couple of bookmarks / business cards, and we're going to give you the opportunity to decide which one. We may limit it to 2 at the moment, but we're going to give you the opportunity to decide which one you want us to leave at businesses or to leave in books that we donate to street free libraries, because this is your channel as much as it is ours. So we're hoping it'll be in the next few weeks that we get to do that. There'll be a special video where we just ask you to really just vote on which bookmark / business card we leave at other businesses and in books that we donate. So be prepared for that. What else? We do have the book competition coming up, and oh my goodness, we still have a little bit of travel for you. So I've had a bit more of the champagne. It is getting a little bit further on in the morning. So I thought it was safe enough to have a bit more of a sip of champagne. And I have had a whole cake, everyone. Oh, gosh, honestly, I'm not going to be able to fit in this chair by the end of another year. Okay, so we're going to take you away to somewhere else. So let's go.
Maldon Railway Station was opened in 1884 and closed in 1976. It has 1 platform, but originally had 4 tracks. It is now a tourist station only, operated by Victorian Goldfields Railway. Railway Hotel of Castlemaine is situated just a short walk and within sight of the Castlemaine railway station. Built in the mid-1800s, it is one of the few surviving hotels from the Gold Rush boom era. It has a delightful beer garden, bar and bistro, function rooms and clubs. On our visit, we opted for a cool drink, sitting under the veranda where the dogs were welcome and we could watch the trains and passers-by. The open fireplace, warming decor and historic artefacts located throughout the hotel make a visit relaxing and entertaining. The food is scrumptious too, and the craft beer and ciders available on tap will quench any thirst. It was from the Railway Hotel that we could watch the Victorian Goldfields steam train arrive from Malden, where it had departed approximately 45 minutes earlier. Castlemaine Railway Station opened in 1862. It is a regional railway station on the Deniliquin line. It is a ground level station with 3 platforms and 3 tracks. In 1973, the turntable was abolished, and in 1978, a number of points, a crossover, and former carriage dock were also abolished. In 1989, so were 2 signal boxes. The main 1860 station is a symmetrical building with face brick construction, low hip roofs, prominent chimneys, and a timber veranda between 2 prominent bays. The rusticated coining and corbelled eaves show Italian features. There is a timber signal box, a brick goods shed, and a brick island platform surrounded by gardens and a pedestrian subway. Shades of Grey of Castlemaine is a delightful studio gallery set in beautiful shaded gardens, founded and owned by artists Shelley and Peter Gray. This studio gallery is open to the public on specified dates in spring and autumn each year, with many of the sculptures, garden ornaments and other artworks offered for sale. The gardens and the artworks are well worth a visit, and to go home empty-handed will be nigh on impossible. A link to the website of Shades of Grey is in the description box below.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that. Another little adventure on the channel for our birthday. Now we have the book competition in my Akubra. So I'm sorry, it has been well worn. Although I did wear out one other Akubra, it had holes in it. So this is a relatively new one. We're going to ask Mark, my partner, to grab the winner of the book competition. So let's go, Mark. Okay, and there it is. He's come around the other side. So let me see who the winner is. Good luck, everyone. Ooh, good luck. And it is Daniela Lynch. Congratulations, Daniela. I will contact you after this video. I will contact you in the coming days, and we will discuss what book we post to you. So congratulations, Daniela, well done, and thank you to all of you who have entered the competition and who have supported us and who entered the book competition actually earlier in October. So yeah, congratulations, Daniela. Well done. That's a good first birthday win. Well done. Well, it really is time to say goodbye, everyone, and get this uploaded so that you can enjoy our celebrations for the day and we can enjoy them with you. Don't forget, I will be online, so if you have any questions, just place them in the comment section below and I will be around to answer them for you as quickly as possible. Don't forget to have a look at a novel review podcast and think about the books that we've discussed today, just an overview of the year's books that I've read, Australian books, and we hope you've enjoyed the travel videos. Just another little sip, and wishing you all and all of us a happy birthday. Cheers. And I will probably spend the rest of the day eating cake. I promise you I'll have a good lunch. Okay, take care everyone. Happy reading, safe travels. See you at the next travel video or the next book recommendation or a sneaky midweeker. Take care. Bye for now.